I'm Glenn McGuinness, and this is Outburst. This week, how will the pandemic influence your vote?
I don't think it will affect it. I think we're doing pretty good.
It won't.
I think we need a dramatic response to help Canadians that are really struggling right now.
Oh man, I think a little bit.
But first, as we navigate our way through this pandemic, the next federal budget is considered to be one of the most important in generations. It's the first federal budget tabled in 2 years, and it will also be the first for Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. So we sent our cameras out across the country to find out what you want to see in this budget. Our question:
what should be included in the next federal budget?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. The list is pretty long. But the budget has to respond to the reality of today. And the reality of today is this is a country under a lot of stress. And the government, and that includes the opposition, has to do a good job, has to, meet that stress head on and, dealing with that plan for the future. So what could be included? Lots of things. But probably lots of money, lots of spending.
I guess something to do with economic recovery. But making sure that economic recovery maybe goes straight to whether it's cities or municipalities and bypasses provincial governments, because clearly our provincial governments have not, at least in the prairie provinces, have not been able to manage that money appropriately.
I think we need more funding for our own vaccination programming. But certainly I think, especially here in Alberta, where our provincial government isn't supporting it, we need to ensure that public education and public health is funded well, so I'd like to see more federal support for that.
I guess definitely something for small businesses, I think needs to be included and looked at. I think they've kind of gotten overlooked to some extent.
Next federal budget, I think there should be a little spending restraint. Been going a little crazy. It's a good thing they've brought in CERB and all those other things, but we got to pull the reins back a little bit in what they're spending, I believe.
I think universal basic income. Oh, I can say more than one. Oh my gosh, universal basic income. The federal government's continued to do this, but or has done this, but a continued focus on affordable housing options for Canadians as well. I think those are really kind of the two things that come to mind.
I think a little bit more support for students, a little bit more support for millennials. We're coming up into society right now that we need to be on our own. It's very strange that a house that my parents could have bought when they were my age, I'm not able to afford at the moment right now, especially in a pandemic. So I think there needs to be a little bit more support, whether that is on education base, whether it is creating a little bit more internship programs for millennials or the younger generation coming out of university. Just, a little bit more support that way.
I also think this new federal budget needs to support our live music and arts industries. This pandemic has shown that those industries are so vulnerable, and especially for our venues, for example, they're businesses that there's no online pivot for them. There's no revenue option for someone who runs a live music venue in the pandemic. So we're going to lose a lot of our cultural spaces and our most valuable cultural assets if there isn't government support for those businesses.
I think more support for certain progressive policies, such as getting our country off its dependence on non-renewable resources and using that as a stepping stone to help with job creation, particularly for people who've been laid off coming out of the pandemic.
They need to focus back on public health care and not kind of do the private healthcare way that I think are going right now. But I definitely think education and then healthcare is really important. We know that now from all of the strain that we've had. So I think any cuts to that is just ridiculous. And then education obviously is the most important thing in society. So that too.
But workers that, such as labor or, I don't know, some other works, it has to help them because they will be in the risk. They will be very much in the risk, and they are in a close contact with outside, and sometimes they can't wear the mask all the time, or having sanitizers or things with them. That will help them a lot. This is, I think, it has to do.
I think we should focus more on helping a lot of small business owners who have had their businesses fall over and fail during the pandemic, those who might be standing at the edge, just, about to fall over. We should prioritize helping them because, big box stores, they'll recover. Our friends and families, they won't.
Should be spending on homeless people, getting people out of the parks, Beacon Hill Park especially.
I would say with just everything that's going on with COVID is definitely with wage subsidies and stuff like that, helping certain places like restaurants that are having to close down due to things, businesses that are having to close down with things, and making sure that the people that don't really have a choice are losing their career to it, kind of helping them, at least support them to get their feet off the ground so they can maybe start a new career path or move on that way.
Nothing, as long as we get a balanced budget. I have no wishes.
Initiatives for young families, affordable kind of cost of living. And I'm a big environmentalist, so I think some more investment, or as much investment as we can into renewable energy and, climate change stuff.
Federal budget, more money towards First Nation institutions and reserves.
A definite way to get rid of the deficit, period. It's a big problem, not only for Canada, but for the rest of the world. We got to get ourselves out of the hole without hyperinflation.
More money for agriculture and more money for this COVID problem.
Since this pandemic began over a year ago, we've been asking Canadians about what kind of a job all levels of government have been doing across the country. The federal government, of course, received some praise about the financial rollout to help Canadians and small businesses, but they've also received some criticism over the vaccine rollout. Federally, we are, of course, governed by a minority, and an election, no matter how you look at it, isn't that far off. So, will COVID-19 be on your mind when you go to the ballot box? Our question:
how will the pandemic influence your vote?
I don't know if the pandemic will influence my vote or not. Economic times and other factors will influence how I vote.
I agree. I don't think the pandemic's going to influence my vote. It's more what our government is doing right now and whether I agree with it or not, and go from there.
I think I don't envy any government who's in power right now. I think it's been incredibly challenging to make any of the right decisions. I don't know that I can say the pandemic will really influence my personal vote, other than to make me very grateful that I'm not a politician.
I'm not sure that the pandemic's going to influence my vote so much as how government responds and what various political parties propose.
It's a rare, nobody has had to go through this, so I don't think it's reasonable to give exceptionally harsh judgment onto any one particular party because of COVID. We're all learning, we're all going through this process.
I haven't gotten to see the people that I want in office, how they would have handled it. I'm sure it would have been good, but I wasn't amazed with the Liberal government's handling, but I don't think they did a terrible job, so I didn't vote for them. I probably won't vote for them again, though.
It won't really impact my vote. I think I'm disappointed in the slow vaccine rollout that we've seen across the country. But unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of faith in some of the non-governing parties right now that they would have done any better. So my vote would probably remain the same for the Liberal Party.
Oh man, I think a little bit. I think my personal opinion is that, nothing much changes one guy to the next. I've been living in Canada my whole life, and my quality of life doesn't seem to change from one dude to the next. So, I'll probably just keep voting the same way I have, and, hopefully everything kind of stays the same and stays as awesome as this country has been. So
I don't think it will affect it. I think we're doing pretty good. I'm glad to be in BC, and I'm glad the way they're handling it. So Yeah.
My vote will be, how my vote will be affected by the pandemic, well, it depends on how well the current members of Parliament are handling it, and as far as I'm concerned, the current governments, whether it be provincial or federal, are handling it to the best of their abilities right now. I don't think that any other party can do any better, any worse. At least the parties currently in office have now had the experience and are better able to handle it than the other parties that come in.
I think so. I think it will, yeah. People will think twice before they put the X beside who and what's name, you know?
I guess definitely just with how it's gone over the last little bit here, with that last year of going through this pandemic, going forward here, like you see restrictions lift and not lift. They kind of go back and forth. So judging on how they attack those problems and help people out who are going through career struggles and businesses that are closing down, people who are losing their careers and losing their businesses, how the government will take action to help to affect those people so that the economy can stay stable.
If the government can help the society to lift up themselves during this pandemic and this hard time for everybody, we're talking about Canada, we're talking about British Columbia, if the government or any kind of wings can help us to lift ourselves in a better way regarding our lifestyle, and most important, our health. That's very important, and the families actually, then it will affect my vote. So I will vote to for somebody that is not focusing on like big businesses, maybe small businesses, or the families. That's what I think about it.
Who was the first Pope to visit Canada? Was it Pope John the 23rd, Pope Paul VI, or Pope John Paul II? The answer, Pope John Paul II. In September of 1984, Pope John Paul II became the first pope to set foot on Canadian soil. The visit lasted 12 days and spanned across 8 provinces and 1 territory. Canadians came out in droves to greet the pontiff everywhere he stopped to visit and to witness history in the making. Pope John Paul II would return to Canada 2 more times, for a 5-hour stop in Fort Simpson, Northwest Territories in 1987, and for World Youth Day in Toronto in 2002. He remains to this day the only pope in history to visit Canada.
We all know the vaccine distribution has gained some momentum across the country, but so have those dangerous variants of concern, as well as a third wave. Lockdown measures have once again been declared in certain parts of the country, just at a time when many of us were feeling a little more freedom with the spring weather coming in. And many of us are feeling optimistic that this time around the vaccines will help to flatten the curve once again. But there are others who feel it's already too late and we better buckle up for the ride. So, what do you think? Our question.
Will the vaccine rollout work to stop a third wave across Canada?
No, I really feel, my personal opinion, that the vaccine, is not going to stop the virus. They've even said, doesn't matter, you can wear 3 masks or 4 masks and get the first shot, the second shot, or even a third. It still doesn't protect you from getting the virus. So it's so many contradictions happening.
Not too educated on it, but I'm optimistic. So I would hope so. I would hope it would definitely make at least a big impact on it, and at least curb it in the right direction, so that everyone's kind of going in the proper way here, and we start to open up things, and you start to see businesses start to flourish again, and kind of everyone get their bread. You know what I mean? You want to see everyone be successful and everyone do good. So as long as it kind of helps that, and we start moving towards how it was before, I think with that happening, it will also bring a greater sense of community into it too. People will be more respectful and more, want to support local and stuff like that. So I'm optimistic to hope that it helps, but a little bit of lack of education, so I can't really say for sure.
They're not going to get to the younger demographic in time to stop that third wave, and it's the younger generation, that 20s, 30s, 40s that are being affected right now, that are really getting infected.
No, I think especially my generation, you see them all out, partying, and as soon as that outdoor gathering was put in place, it just seems like everybody's kind of gone nuts, and yeah, it just seems like everybody's trying to go back to normal. So I think third wave's probably coming for us, unless that vaccine comes quicker.
I'm not sure. Knowing a little bit about how coronaviruses work, chances are, it'll slow it down, but there's always going to be new variants. Coronaviruses evolve quite rapidly, so it'll stop a few, it'll slow a few down, but, I don't think it's going to stop anything entirely.
Yeah, I think the more vaccines are available to people, I think it'll help fight this virus, yeah.
I'm optimistic. I can't tell the future, so at this point I'm optimistic and hoping that it will help whatever way it can.
No, I don't think it will help because so the vaccine is good, but you can still get COVID with the vaccine. It protects you, it makes it easier for you to get through it, but it doesn't actually protect you from having it. So once you have it, it's easy for others to have it as well. So like every vaccine, it's going to help in some way, but I don't think it's going to make it disappear, if you know what I mean. It's not going to...
I think once it rolls out and everybody is vaccinated, if we still keep the same precautions for COVID, like the restrictions, the group gatherings and all that stuff in place, I think it will stunt the curve then. But if people just think it's a quick fix and they're immune, and then they try to go about their normal lives again before it fully takes effect, and that we understand everything about it, I think we won't see any change.
I don't think that one has to do with the other. I think people's behavior has a ton to do with it, and too many people think that so many people are vaccinated, and that's why we're experiencing a third wave. If you walk into any bar over there or over here or whatever, doesn't matter that screens are up, they are crowded, and people have proven that they can't care for each other. Canada lacks community. People only care about themselves.
Hopefully, we're assuming it will, but there's the variants out there, and whether or not the vaccine works on that, time will tell, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Only time will tell. I honestly hope so. This is getting harder and harder the longer it goes, and something's got to change. Yeah. So let's cross our fingers and hope so.
No, I think we're in the third wave a little bit with the numbers kind of across Canada, how they were. I hope it helps, though. I mean, there are more people vaccinated, so it's almost like there is a little bit of more of an end in sight, whereas like with the second wave, it still wasn't, people weren't getting vaccinated. So hopefully as long as that can still happen and they still have the June deadline, that maybe, hopefully there would be less pressure on the healthcare system. Doing it by age, too, I think is part of that.
Well, like I said, this is a learning process for everybody. Whether it will work or not depends on the vaccines themselves and their effectiveness. And also there's the big part of this is participant cooperation. Certainly when you get a vaccine, that does not, mean you're 100% safe right from the moment you get it. So, there's a certain responsibility on the person, on people to follow through and to do what's required.
I think that the vaccination efforts will maybe slow it slightly, but I just think that the third wave is ahead of what we're able to get in vaccines from overseas right now, which is really unfortunate.
That's a big question. The third wave is clearly on us, and what the vaccine rollout's going to do, we hope it'll temper something like a third wave or any subsequent problems. Clearly we've got to embrace the science on this. The vaccine right now is an answer. The other answer, of course, is physical distancing, staying safe, not congregating with strangers in places where, we're trapped in the air in a restaurant. And unfortunately, it's restaurants that seems to be predominant, but we're going to just have to practice what science is telling us is the best practice.
I think everyone wants to look into a crystal ball right now. I'm looking to our medical and public health experts, and what I'm hearing is that the first rounds of vaccines are definitely working, because it's not our most elderly who are in the hospital right now. It's our people in their 40s and 50s. So
we're in the third wave and it's coming too fast, so no, but hopefully it'll work to stop the fourth wave.
The span of influence COVID-19 has had on our lives also includes our personal finances, not only how we earn it, but also how we spend it, with lockdown measures occurring across the country since this pandemic began. Many of us have changed where we buy, how we buy, and even what we buy. So we took our cameras out to ask Canadians how they've changed their expenditures. Our question:
how has the pandemic affected your spending habits?
We were talking about this yesterday. I think the best way for me to answer this question, I think, is that we were talking about how in Victoria, doing the most simple of things feels luxurious here. So I think in that way, you can just go get like a cheap juice or something, and we're gonna go sit by the water, and that feels like, $1 million day. So
totally.
I'm putting a positive spin on this.
Yeah.
Do you have your own answer for that?
I totally agree with that.
What about your spending habits?
Oh, my spending habits, I definitely spend way more money on food, like on groceries, because, you start getting creative and you cook way more. So that's probably my biggest spending.
My spending habits affected by the pandemic. I don't go out as much. I never went out before anyway, but I've not gone to a restaurant to eat in pretty well at least half a year. My spending habits through the internet online have certainly increased, that's for sure. That's basically it. I guess it's sort of worked off of each other. I'm spending less in restaurants, but I'm buying more online. I've built up a few interests, which has cost me a little bit of money. So,
well, a little actually. I find I'm actually spending a lot more on eating out because, I'm going to, places like Farmhouse Coffee over there and just small businesses that I want to survive. And I'll be like, yes, give me a side, give me two sides, because, I want to try to help the local community, so I've been spending a lot more than I usually would have.
It's actually been really great, especially with having the opportunity to work from home as well. So, not spending the money on taking the bus or coffees or whatever it may be. But I also think it's really important too. All of the pandemic has made me reflect on local businesses and how important it is to support those businesses as well.
For my part, I would say yes. I think I've been spending more money since the pandemic because the fact that we're stuck at home, we don't have the opportunity to do all the activities that we would usually do. So we try to do something different. For myself, spending online was a big one. I started doing things that I would usually do, like the surfing, which was super expensive. That's.
For me, not really. I think I'm actually saving money because of the pandemic, because normally I used to be an outgoing, fun person. But with all the restrictions due to COVID, it makes it hard to go out and socialize as a group, as I would normally have done pre-COVID times. I'm definitely saving way more money because of COVID.
Yeah, I think I'm not spending less. I think I'm being more conscious of what I'm spending it on, just with work and the regulations they've set in for us out at my job. There's just not enough clientele. We can't have clients come in from out of town right now, so that's definitely taken a hit. So
when you're in a point of having no money and you only have wage subsidies coming in or income release or whatever it is, when you only have that coming in, you're definitely a little more careful with your spending, whereas when you start to do that and you're working only part-time, but you're also getting this help with stuff, I think everyone has been kind of frivolously spending their money and not really putting it towards being smart with it and thinking about, okay, now when things go back to normal, am I ahead of the game here? Am I able to solidify myself and build from that, or am I just kind of in the exact same hole I was in before?
Where we, as Canadians, always love to say we support local. If it's Canadian grown, it's for Canadians. But at the same time, we're the first ones to have those doors closed. So it's definitely affected it that way. Not the amount that I've been spending, but who I'm choosing to put my dollar to.
Online shopping. I'm trying to be more mindful. I went for a walk today at lunch and didn't bring my wallet just to go for the walk. But I think the response with, just boredom and restlessness and needing a jolt of stimulation has caused me to probably spend more money online than I should be.
Spending's down. There's no travel, not really dining out, and just not getting together with people or going to events and things like that. So just a lot less spending across the board.
A lot. I mean, there's definitely just not that much money for extra stuff, so cutting back on all of that made me rethink how I think about shopping for clothes, stuff like that. So I'm thrifting more, groceries, definitely shopping deals, so it's affected it a lot.
We're shopping a lot more online. Never did grocery delivery before, and I haven't been to a grocery store in 6 months, so that's been a big change. Probably trying to save a little bit more. So yeah, biggest thing has been the move to online with pretty much everything.
Overall, I keep things simple, so it hasn't drastically impacted me. I don't operate under panic or, so I've just been conscientious and, like everybody else, just doing the best they can, what they have.
There's a lot of things I'm not spending money on. Gas to and from work. We're not dining out. We're not going out to movies, concerts, and performances and such. But with respect to that, we're probably eating a little better. We've been spending a little more money on food at our local grocery store, and we're trying to support local businesses, whether it's the, pick up at the curb dining and or the local business that sells their goods.
I've saved a lot of money. I used to eat out a fair amount, so I haven't been eating out quite as much, but lots of takeout. I don't know. I think there's a lot less of that quick, impulse buying. Like right now, I'm just walking around. I might pop in a couple of places, and I, through the pandemic, wasn't doing a lot of that. So trying to be more mindful of that, because our small businesses need us to make some impulse purchases once in a while. So I think being out and about causes us to spend a little bit more money. So I'm hoping more people are out and about and spending more money.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on the Cable Public Affairs channel. I'm Glenn McGuinness. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. It's your turn to speak up, and we're listening.